I feel kind of nervous going to school because I like learning, but I have trouble with making friends.
He said he's a geek. Some kids had told him that he's worthless to go hang himself. And I think he got to the point where enough was enough.
Tonight, a tragic situation.
A Perkins boy, just 11 years old, believed to have been desperate enough to take his own life.
You know, and again, my job isn't to do the movie reviews, but the movie I think should be mandatory viewing to just for people if they're not sure about the depth of it or bullying was always this way. You see what these kids. Anyone who thinks it's tolerable, it's a waste of time having a conversation with it. But when you watch these stories, it was systemic. People knew. The parents didn't sit on their hands. So I guess my question is, some people, through education and through active programs for empowerment, and then on the flip side for to, I guess, more sensitize the bullies so they don't do it, it will work. Some people in life here need consequences. And I guess my question is, what should the consequences be? When should they be doled out? Do the schools need more authority? How do we do it?
Well, I think the schools are given that authority. Now, there's the Dignity for All Students Act in New York, which goes into effect as of July 1st, and New Jersey has the strictest law. So I think that there are more laws that are giving schools the power to act and are requiring them to have consequences, and the consequences have to match the crime, and they have to match the age and stage of the child. So they go from mild to severe. So they could be something mild, you know, speaking with the principal, or could be severe where you're actually kicked out of school and you're not allowed back.
You think the discretion, I'm asking, this isn't rhetorical, the discretion, there's enough discretion at the schools that if there's a complaint, a parent comes in and says, my kid, he's afraid to go to homeroom every day because, you know, whatever, that there's enough tools there for the principal or the proper authorities at the school to deal with it?
Well, right now, that's what's going on in New York State. They're training people. They're having a Dignity Act coordinator for each school. Every single school is going to have a bully specialist and a backup bully specialist. And I'm suggesting that they have a bully intervention team so that there's an entire team of trained people who will intervene and will be talking to the victims and the bystanders and the perpetrators. So I think that in New York, we don't have everybody trained yet, but we will. And New Jersey is about 2 years ahead of us, and I think they're doing a fabulous job of training the person.
Yeah, and I can tell you that in every school in New Jersey, there is that anti-bullying specialist, a school safety team, and a district coordinator, and plenty of backup. And I can also tell you that any incident, like the one that you just described, that a child is afraid to go to homeroom or a particular class, or afraid to come to school for that matter.
Well, what do you do? Let's say that there's 4 kids that are making the kid's life a living nightmare for some 5th grader in a homeroom. Walk me through what would happen in your school.
Well, first of all, there's enough eyes that we would be watching that child every step of the way. And punishment, you know, I've seen both sides, and I work in schools, and I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've seen the benefits and I've seen the drawbacks. And what we've discovered is that early on, what we're really missing is education. I was talking about redefining bullying.
And I'm sorry to short you, but do you separate the kids? Or do you tell them get together and play
There's lots
nice?
of things we can do, but and separating them is one option, and even removing one child from the school if they're a danger. We rarely have that. The movie Bully, which I actually just saw last week, I think is wonderful and problematic. And one of the reasons it's problematic is it tends to perpetuate this very common stereotype about bullying. Now, like I was saying before, you know, heroin use is an example of drugs, but if we think, if that's what we're looking for, and even what you suggested, you know, okay, this child is afraid to come to school, I guarantee you that there were things going on long before that child was afraid to come to school, and that's where we need to intervene.
Well, here's where I want to get to in my remaining time. There's groups. You got the parents that a lot of people say of the bully and sometimes of the victim that could have, should have, do more. We can debate that. There's the school who a lot of times say, don't look at me, you know, I'm just, you know, I inherited the problem here and I only got him for a certain amount of hours a day. And then there's new phenomena, cyberbullying, and to me, very curiously, some group that's exempt here from any responsibility are the people that allow these platforms to continue without any culpability and any responsibility for creating an effect or allowing hate speech to perpetuate itself and for these kids to have no, in effect, refuge. where would you like to say, I know it's all of the above, but if you could have one group here that you get your hands around and say, this is where I'd love to change the dynamic. Is it at home? Is it in the schools? Is it online?
No, it's in the schools, and it's training the bystander, and the parents are also bystanders. So it's really training everybody that they have a right and a duty to intervene, and that they must help that victim, and that they have to do it either by reporting it, or by actually stopping it, or by being a part of a group to stop it. And that's an audience online as well as, you know, in person.
If I had a magic wand, I'd make all parents functional and involved, but since that's, you know, requires a magic wand, school is the one place where we get all the kids 5 days a week for a lot of time. That's, the responsibility is now on us to teach kids what is bullying, and most importantly, what are the motives? Why do kids bully? Because if we continue to see bullying as this pathological behavior that's done by really dysfunctional kids, we are missing 90% of the bullying that's going on, and we're continuing to perpetuate this myth about what bullying is. I have seen it firsthand. It's very easy to work with both bullies and victims, and you get them to understand what are the motives, what are the payoffs. Is it attention seeking, identity, reputation, status? Is it jealousy, competition, revenge, learned behaviors?